Good morning, everyone coming on board.
It's a day of presentations today for me. I have 4.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Hi, Barbara. Hi, Ed.
Did a great job this morning, Omar.
Oh, that was fun. This is even more fun.
Yay, there's Mr. Masterson.
Good morning, Ed.
Sorry, had to get the unmute. Hi, how are you guys? Good to see you.
Hi, Ed.
Good to see you
Ed,
too,
Ed.
Ed.
Hi, Ed.
Barbara and Ed, great. Get a few folks in.
How's everybody doing today?
Doing great. How about you?
Good.
Happy Friday.
Yes.
Yay.
We made it.
Thanks for having this event. I can't wait to hear from the presenters. It's going to be fantastic.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We'll just wait another minute or so and we'll get going. Good morning, T.
Good morning, Jill. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I am doing well, thank you.
Good. I think we'll go ahead and get started if that's okay with everyone. So good morning. It's a beautiful day and I have a window in my office so I can see the clouds out in the sky, and they were really pretty this morning. They still are now though. Sun's really starting to come out. My name is Jill Mellady and I'm the president of Mellady Direct Marketing. I'm the co-chair of the College of the Canyons Foundation as well as the chair of the Chancellor Circle. I want to welcome you this morning to the Chancellor Circle virtual business briefing on behalf of Dr. Diane G. Van Hook, College of the Canyons Chancellor, and of the College of the Canyons Foundation. As we are navigating this unprecedented time for our community, our nation, and world, it has never been more important to come together as a community to help one another and to stand together, even if we are to do this at a distance or remotely. And I'm hoping that's going to change pretty soon, but I do love the remote. We hope these calls hosted by the Chancellor Circle will not only be helpful information, but also a source of community support for one another. And that is so important during these times. Many of you have spent decades supporting the success of students at College of the Canyons, and we hope your continued involvement with the college means you're able to find support in your professional endeavors as well. You have provided support in so many initiatives at our college through the Chancellor Circle by providing laptops to our students who struggle to stay enrolled, funding the college promise that helps our students enroll at no charge, and funding over 100 mini grants for our faculty throughout the years. Your support is greatly making a difference. I want to thank you again for being here today with us, and our presentation will be featured on YouTube channel for you to watch and share. Should be up there by Monday. So if you want to share your presentation with anyone, I encourage you to go to the YouTube channel, cocfoundation.com, and share it with your friends and your family and anyone you can. Today's topic has a very impressive lineup. But before we get started, I wanted to know that you will be muted with the exception of the presenters and the moderator, who is me. And if you have questions, you can put that in the chat. If you're only on the phone, you can press *6 to unmute yourself, or you can use the chat feature, like I said, to ask the question. Now the *6 to unmute yourself. I'm not sure how that works. Carly, does that mean that they can just ask a question? I'm sorry, or that's just, I'm not sure. Sorry about that. Can Carly chime in on it?
Yeah, we don't have anyone on phones today, but that is
Okay.
usually when you call in, you can just unmute at the end if you had a question.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Uh-huh.
So without further ado, I want to announce our first speaker, and that's Omar Torres. He is the Assistant Superintendent, Vice President of Instructions here at College of the Canyons. He's proudly spent the last 20 years in higher education as part of the community college system. He currently serves as, like I said, the Assistant Superintendent, Vice President of Instruction at College of the Canyons, where they have really long titles. He previously served as the Associate Vice President of Academic Affairs, the Dean of Mathematics, Sciences, and Engineering, and the Dean of Health Professions and Public Safety. He also had the opportunity to serve at Santa Ana College as the Vice President of Academic Affairs. Prior to becoming an administrator, Dr. Torres was at Moore Park College for 6 years as a full-time faculty member, teaching both on-site and online while serving as department chair for the Chemistry, Earth, and Environmental Sciences Department, as well as member of the college's Academic Senate and Curriculum Committee. He began his career at Los Angeles City College as an adjunct instructor in chemistry. Before entering the field of higher education, Dr. Torres also worked in research and development at the Dow Chemical Company in Freeport, Texas. He received his bachelor's degree in chemistry from Texas A&M, a master's in chemistry from the University of California, Los Angeles, and an ED in organizational leadership from the University of Laverne. He is also an internationally published co-author for 2 best-selling textbooks in general, organic, and biochemistry, as well as introductory physical science. Congratulations on all those accolades. So Dr. Omar Torres, take it away.
Thank you, Jill, and thank you all for being here this morning. Really appreciate the opportunity to present, and we'll also want to thank our Chancellor. I know she couldn't be here this morning, but she's been really instrumental in really supporting the work that we've done here at the college over the last year since we've been in this pandemic mode. I am going to share my screen. If you could let me know if you can see it okay, and then we will get started. All right, excellent. Well, again, thank you all for your attention this morning. Kind of want to walk you through some of the challenges that the college through instruction has had to contend with over the last year as a result of the pandemic, and to really highlight some of the innovation that has resulted. And of course, you'll get to hear from 2 of my esteemed colleagues later to give you a little bit more specificity at the division school level, as well as at specific department level on some of the work that they've done to continue to serve our students during this journey as we've adapted as a result of the current pandemic. One of the items I wanted to talk about, and thank you, Jill, for mentioning the University of Laverne. I was able to thankfully attend there with the urging of Kathy Ritz and Dr. Van Hook and others. We have here at the University Center, we have the University of Laverne. They have a wonderful doctoral program in organizational leadership. And one of the books that we read that I thought would be very appropriate to this group this morning that's attending this call, as well as we look towards the application of the lessons learned from the book, Crucial Conversations, to the college, I wanted to go ahead and outline some of the award-winning input, if you will, that I would encourage you to pick up the book. It's one of the best sellers by the New York Times. It's over 3 million people have had a chance to read some of the great insights that have been put forth by the authors, Patterson, Grandy, McMillan, and Switzler. And really, the book addresses how we handle engaging in crucial conversations. Sometimes, folks may choose to avoid a crucial conversation. Others may face a critical dialogue that needs to occur, and looking back, hindsight is 2020. They feel like they handled that situation poorly. And then others are successful in handling those situations. I would say that here at the college, we've handled many of these crucial conversations throughout the last year as we transitioned from more traditional mode of instruction to the mode of instruction that through remote and some in person that we're currently offering. And as we sort of rev up to prepare for the forthcoming fall semester, a lot of crucial conversations and a lot of input and throughput and successes and lessons learned as a result of our experiences during the pandemic this past year. Again, I feel like our business community would benefit from this book in terms of looking at organizational productivity and performance and recognizing that those two facets of running a business are not solely focused on policies, processes, procedures, structures, or systems, but rather it's really looking at the interrelationships professionally that exist amongst the employees, looking at employee behavior and accountability in terms of getting work done. And so when we look at our role as leaders, what you learn in this book, which again, I can't emphasize enough how wonderful it was and life-altering it was for me. The authors talk about several important aspects that as leaders, we want to consider and apply in our workings, both in the business community, in leadership at the college, whatever your role is within your organization. And the authors point out that one of the first things you should do is to start with your heart. And when we start with heart, you really got to examine sort of introspectively, what do I really want to get out of this? What does my behavior tell me about what my motives are in terms of how others are perceiving those motives? What do I want to do for others? How do I want to cultivate relationships amongst my various constituency stakeholder groups in whom I work with during or as part of my organization? And then asking some other questions like, well, what do you not want to get out of this relationship or out of this initiative or out of this endeavor? And then to explore and brainstorm healthy options as you lead into having and hosting a crucial conversation with a colleague or an employee. Next, the book talks about learning to look. So when conversations become stressful, sometimes, and we've all been in this situation, we sometimes end up doing the exact opposite of what we had hoped we would have done, or the exact opposite of what we believe would have been a more positive outcome as a result of the dialogue. And so it's really important for all of us to learn to look within ourselves, to learn to look at the existing conditions. What are some of the conversational pitfalls that we anticipate when we have a crucial conversation, and make sure that we analyze ourselves and our motives and really, take a deep dive into, well, how do I normally handle a situation when I engage with a colleague or a friend or a partner or a loved one or whatnot? And the book is great because in one of the chapters, it has a style under stress test that you should take, that either you circle true or you circle false. It asks you questions about, well, do I try to avoid people when there's a conflict? Do I, when I'm engaged in a crucial conversation, but I don't want to respond, do I avoid emails and phone calls? Am I forthcoming with my colleagues, or do I operate more under a passive aggressive type mode? Do I exaggerate to make a point? Do I make comments such as, man, this is stupid, or this is ridiculous, or give me a break? Ask yourselves, what sort of behaviors do you exhibit when you're in those moments of having a crucial conversation or a crucial dialogue? So the book really, again, very introspective initially, and then applying some of those best practices as you prepare to engage with others and making the conversational landscape safe for others to engage in. Try to identify a mutual purpose. Try to show that you care about others and you respect others, that you want to hear from others. And so, as part of that dialogue, as you're sort of building up with your team, you want to make sure that you master your stories, that you get in touch with your feelings, that you identify emotions that are behind the stories and how they are attributable and relevant to the crucial conversation that you're trying to have with your colleagues. What emotions are encouraging you to act this particular way, and to really question your conclusions and look for other possible explanations behind your story as you relay those to your colleagues, to your stakeholders, to your employees. And so then we get into stating and exploring your path as well as others' other paths. Really asking for others, paraphrasing what you hear your team saying in terms of making sure that you understand their perspective and where they're coming for. Again, trying to make it safe for others to express their differing or sometimes even opposing views. And then ultimately, we got to move to action. All of this is great, but if there isn't an outcome at the end of that tunnel, and if there isn't accountability associated with that engagement between the various stakeholder groups, then what are we doing? And so when we really served and strive to look at who is doing what by when, and who is accountable for what, and what does that timeline look like, all of these guidances that I'm putting forth here that are part of the Crucial Conversations book, this is all really representative of the dialogue that we have had here at College of the Canyons over the last year and plus, in terms of adjusting and adapting to the current pandemic and in our collective efforts to best serve students and to safely work with our faculty, with our staff, with our administration, through our board of trustees to support students so that they can ultimately achieve their educational goals. And so now I'm going to sort of pivot the messaging from Crucial Conversations and show how it really applies to what we've done here at College of the Canyons. And so let me start by saying I will never forget Friday the 13th. And literally, when it rains, it pours. And let me explain what I mean by that title. Couple of things, actually. First, last year, Friday, March the 13th of 2020, is when the college declared through a message by our chancellor that we were going to transition to remote instruction. Now, let me share something from childhood that I'm a little embarrassed about, but I'll share it. And that is, I used to be a big horror movie fan when I was a kid. I used to love the Michael Myers from Halloween, or Freddy Krueger and the knives from Nightmare on Elm Street, or Jason with the hockey mask from Friday the 13th. Those were fun movies. And what's so ironic about Friday the 13th of last March of 2020 was I remember that day that the communication went out to our campus community that we were going to transition to remote instruction indefinitely. And when that communication went out, sure enough, when I went home that night, I turned on Spectrum, I turned on the big screen TV, and what did they have on television? They were playing the Friday the 13th marathon with Jason Voorhees and the Killer. So I thought, wow, this is so appropriate given the day that I've had and given the day that our college has had in terms of this shock that we have to transition to remote instruction. And so what was fascinating, and from 30% to 99%, at the time that we transitioned to remote instruction, just so you get a sense of the challenges that we were having internally, at that time, 30% of our instruction was either online or online hybrid. The other 70% was in person, face-to-face. And so all of a sudden, at the snap of a finger on that Friday the 13th of March of 2020, we had to transition to remote instruction where virtually almost 100% of our instruction in the forthcoming weeks and for the next year was going to be offered in an online or online live, meaning synchronous instruction type manner. And as you can imagine, it was a huge, massive overhaul on the part of our instructional faculty, our staff, and our college. Because when you think about the behind the scenes workings that have to be done through our IT folks, through student services to make sure that students that need access, special accommodations through the Disabled Students Program, or through counseling, or registering for classes, or out of class support with library and learning resources, and I could go on and on. It was a massive undertaking on the part of the college to get us to that point. And many of us ask, how in the world are we going to do this? We're not ready for this. We've only been offering instruction to 30% of the students on campus, and everything else has been in person. There's no way that we can do this. Well, we did. And as we talk through the next few slides, you'll have a better sense of how College of the Canyons stepped up, rose to the challenge, and continued to provide above average, superior, excellent services to students in a sort of substituted capacity stemming from remote and online instruction. Couple of last things I'll add is that there was a lot of fear over the unknown as to how we were going to do this. There was a lot of working with our dear friend Leslie Carr and professional development and our academic senate partners and our union colleagues in looking at how we convert to working, addressing working conditions for faculty that were going to be on campus to make sure that they were providing in-person instruction for some select infrastructure groups that Cindy Schwanke will talk about later today. Jen will talk to you about VAPA and how we continue to support the patrons and the arts and how we made the visual and performing arts a reality for our community, despite the fact that we were handcuffed. There was a lot of unknowns, a lot of inherent uncertainty, but we made it work. And the last thing I'll point out on this slide is we also got to work. We got to work with our state in terms of addressing some of the current law, but more particular, some of the law and the regulations that needed to change if we were going to operate in a remote mode. What did we have to legislatively advocate for in order to provide students with the seamless transition from being in person to being in a remote mode, with the understanding that this was a major shock to their ecosystem on top of what they were going through on a personal level regarding the pandemic, loss of lives, potential family members dying, adjusting to all instruction being remote. How are we advocating on behalf of the students to our legislative body stakeholders? And how are we working to ensure that where there were barriers, for example, going into the pandemic, the nursing department, who's authorized by the Board of Registered Nursing, we had a rule in place, according to the BRN, that they could only offer 25% of clinical instruction in a simulated mode through labs on campus, but the rest of it had to be done in the clinical setting. And yet, all these hospitals were kicking us out of the emergency rooms and their sites left and right because of the pandemic, because they weren't comfortable having students there, the liability, the exposure. What if the students get COVID? All of these things. We had to advocate with the BRN. We were able to get them to successfully change that 25% capacity to 50%. Just to give you one example of the work that our chancellor, that our dean, myself, the nursing director, and others statewide did to really champion for the needs of students during this unprecedented time. And so what have we done to transition on-campus instruction? Well, we've been working with consultants, as Cindy will hopefully attest to ensure that for our essential infrastructure sector disciplines that we offered on campus, those consisted of automotive technology, construction, culinary arts, EMT, MLT, nursing, land surveying, welding, even our Sheriff's Academy, to make sure that for those programs identified by the Department of Homeland Security as being quote unquote essential, and then of course coordinating with the LA County Department of Public Health to ensure that we had their permission to bring those labs back on a limited basis for appropriate in-person instruction, recognizing that all lectures and the rest of the college was virtually remote. We had to work with consultants to make sure, and our unions, to make sure that we were safely accommodating the gradual transition of these programs back to campus in a way that supported the integrity of the curriculum and allowed the flexibility for the faculty, the staff, and the students to have that instruction being delivered in a safe manner. And so what do we do for the rest of the programs that didn't qualify as essential? Well, we created laboratory science kits for biology and chemistry and disciplines that we couldn't bring back to campus, where we safely had students drop onto campus, get access to those kits. Everything was properly scheduled and social distance with appropriate PPE. Go figure. If they weren't able to come to campus, we made other accommodations for them in terms of virtual labs and virtual access, and ensuring that the integrity and the quality of the curriculum was commensurate with the standards of our college. We checked out equipment. Jen will tell you about what they did in her area in terms of MIA and GMD and photo and music to ensure that students had access to some of the equipment. Cindy Schwanke will tell you the same thing in culinary arts. So again, I don't want to steal their thunder. They can talk a little bit about that. We distributed instructional materials. Again, Cindy will use culinary as an example of how we gave students the ingredients that they needed to cook some of the foods in their kitchens, at their homes, safely away from the college, while still conforming to the standards of instruction in our course outlines. A lot of work behind the scenes to empower the students. Conversations with our academic senate to look at some of the training requirements and professional development necessary for the faculty to successfully teach our students, including how we advertised the schedule of classes online to ensure that students understood when they were registering for our classes what synchronous instruction meant. Ultimately was translated into online live. Students didn't all know what synchronous meant or what the implications were. So we had to work with our ASG, we had to work with our academic senate, our faculty, our staff, and our managers and our deans to make sure that we were best meeting the needs of the students, even at the onset where they register for classes, so that they knew what they were registering for. Was it a synchronous online live class? Was it an online class where the majority of the engagement is asynchronous, or was it a combination, a blend of the two? And so a lot of work. And finally, based on input from the students, we recently premiered with the opening of our tutoring learning center to allow for a quiet study space the students have access to. This was very important. The students let us know they needed that. We had to work again within the confines of our collective bargaining agreements, engaging with Jim Schwanke and facilities, with Jim Temple and IT, Jasmine Rise and student services, so the students could log in for the 2-hour sections that were identified, time blocks, and then separate from one set to the other to allow for cleaning to occur. All this work to make sure that we safely and properly accommodated for the needs of our students. And it was a true team effort. And I won't bore you with too much detail here, but I will tell you this. There's a lot that we're hearing in the news in terms of the K-12 returning back to campus. And it's very important to note that the rules for K-12 are different than the rules for institutes or institutions of higher education. We are still required to maintain the 6-foot distancing, whereas at the elementary schools, they're able to do the 3-foot distancing. So that's one huge difference right there. There have been some recent communications from the LA County Department of Public Health in terms of denoting what we can and cannot do as we gradually transition during the red tier, from the red tier to the orange tier, to support students. I won't read you and bore you with all the details. You can see it on your screen. But again, we're limited, whether it's limitations to students and instructors to certain rooms on campus, lecture spaces, lab spaces. The capacity is limited, and we're having to work with what we've got in order to best and safely accommodate our students and accommodate our staff. So as we prepare for the fall semester, we're going to gradually try to bring more students back to campus. Again, all of this is contingent. I sound like a broken record, but is contingent on the LA County Department of Public Health. And so again, state and county permitting, we want to continue with offering the essential infrastructures, possibly bring back some additional labs, where our studies have shown that the students would benefit more from in-person instruction as opposed to virtual instruction in disciplines such as, for example, art, biology, chemistry, media entertainment arts, and photography. We're working to bring back athletics to have both conditioning and eventually have the teams practicing with equipment on campus. We're looking to bring back some of our continuing education free, what are sometimes called, we don't like this term, non-credit classes to support our community where we have figured out that essentially the students are not doing as well in a virtual or remote setting. And so therefore we need to have these students back on campus in support of ESL, in support of GED, citizenship, CPR training. We also are working with the Hart High School District to resume and continue with our dual enrollment, except we want to resume the instruction in an in-person capacity. So working with the William S. Hart Union High School District to make sure we can make those opportunities a reality for the high school students that are enrolled in our college classes. We're working on that. We're working to bring some select lectures back to campus. Not a lot, not all at once, but selectively, so that we're doing so safely. And we're going to continue to provide professional development for our faculty in terms of best practices associated with pedagogy and andragogy with respect to online, hybrid, online live or synchronous instruction, and even high flex opportunities as well. So I want to end by pointing out that we're going to do something we've never done before in the history of the college. Despite all the uncertainty out there, we know, we've heard from our students, and we know that they want to know and they want to be able to register for our fall classes as soon as possible. So at the urging of Dr. Van Hook and in conversations with others on campus, we've agreed that if we're going to pull the trigger, we might as well pull it now so that we can provide our students with a sense of hope. And so that means we're going to go live with our fall schedule on April 19th. And 1 month later, before our current students adjourn for the summer break, we are going to allow for registration to begin starting Monday, May 24th. We've never done it this early. It's always been mid-July. We feel that the students are craving this opportunity. They need the hope. We want to be able to get them into their classes as soon as possible. We know that there are going to be challenges and nuances along the way, but we will work through those challenges because, again, we've been having those crucial conversations with one another. We have worked to innovate and to provide opportunities for our students as we plan for the fall. And so that, ladies and gentlemen, is my brief, sorry, it took a little bit longer than I anticipated, presentation on behalf of instruction here at College of the Canyons. Thank you for the opportunity. And Jill, I turn it back to you. And you're still muted.
Jill?
I think the online registration or the registration for fall, I think is going to give so many students hope, and they're going to be just incredibly thankful for that. So good job. Next, I would like to introduce to you Jennifer Smolos. She's the Dean of School and Visual and Performing Arts. Jen Smolos is a leader, a scholar, an educator, and an artistic professional with more than 15 years of experience in higher education. Jen believes that transformation lies at the heart of art, of artists and education. Art awakens us and connects us to our history, our common humanity, and ourselves. Through the creative process, words and images on pages are transformed into works that can inspire, enlighten, entertain, and change an audience. Similarly, education is an ongoing transformative process comprising committed learners, professors, and administrators who desire to deepen their understanding of and engagement with the world around them. The interdisciplinarity of our fields requires a breadth and depth of ever-evolving styles, specific skills, and tools within those styles, and a collaborative spirit. It is not only professors who educate students in the visual and performing arts, but also the community that surrounds them. Before moving to Santa Clarita in 2019, Jen served on the faculty at NYU and the American Academy of Dramatic Arts, and has presented masterclasses and lectures at Yale University, Tufts University, Savannah College of Art and Design, Vanderbilt University, Bucknell University, and Franklin and Marshall College. She's a proud member of SAG-AFTRA, Actors Equity Association, NATS, and VASTA. Welcome, Jen. What a resume there. You're amazing. So
Morning.
go ahead.
Thank you, Jill. It's always such a fascinating moment when someone reads your bio aloud. So thank you so much for this wonderful opportunity to share the work of the School of Visual and Performing Arts, and certainly first and foremost our faculty, staff, and students who have been unbelievably successful in pivoting. And I'm excited to share with you specific examples of our transition from over the course of the past year. And I'd really like to thank Omar for such a wonderful presentation covering instruction and for his continuing and unyielding support of all of us over in the School of Visual and Performing Arts, and always helping us find equitable solutions for students, whether it be equipment checkout or the particularities and the uniqueness of our school. I really do appreciate your support. And I see Doreen Shine on the call here this morning. Doreen, thank you so much again for your incredible support and continued efforts with our patrons of the arts organization. So many of the projects that we do in the school would not be possible without your leadership and without all the help of your colleagues. And certainly thank you, Jill and Kathy and Carly here on the call from the foundation, again, for your continued support. So I'd like to go ahead and share screen if I may. I'll pull up my PowerPoint. So starting with going back to a year ago, and I think sometimes we think that as artists, it's easy to transition, it's easy to pivot. It isn't. It is a skill that we must acquire, and we must be flexible, and something I've talked about with certainly our faculty and staff in the importance of teaching our students is that certainly in professional theatrical productions, performing arts productions, visual art exhibitions, there are always constraints, right? It's never a perfect scenario. There's always a restricted budget. There may be challenging artistic minds on the collaborative team, right? There's always the necessity to be flexible and to adapt. And I think that while that's always the case, this last year certainly has presented new challenges for us. And I'm so proud to be part of a school that has welcomed that need to shift and to change, and that we've really grown together as a team in trying to figure out how to address and meet the needs of our students. So if I may, I'd like to go back to a little over a year ago, just a year and a couple weeks ago. So Tuesday, March 10th, 2020. Some of you were in the Performing Arts Center, I know, with me on this evening, where we had a sold out, incredible performance of Pink Martini with conga line and Joe Gerda up on that stage at the end. And it was an wonderfully exhilarating evening. And I know, as Omar alluded to, within a few short days, on Friday, March 13th, we had to make some very difficult decisions to cancel events, particularly in our Performing Arts Center. And some of the events that were planned, as you'll see from this slide, we had a theater department production of the musical Pippin opening May 1st. And you'll see from those images the beautiful set design that our technical director, Brody Steele, had come up with for the main stage at the PAC. We had a music department electronic concert scheduled for May 27th, also in the Performing Arts Center. We had multiple events scheduled in the art gallery. And of course, we also had a commercial music concert that was determined to coincide with a Patrons of the Arts events between the gallery, between the Black Box, between the Performing Arts Center. We had a lot of really exciting events happening. And suddenly we needed to pivot, to transition toward them. So I'm just having trouble advancing my slide. Give me one moment. Okay, there we go. So over the next few months, all of those plans had to shift, right? Or we could have made the decision that some of my colleagues back on the East Coast made, which was to cancel such things. They canceled their concerts. They canceled their theater productions. They canceled their art gallery presentations. And we just didn't feel that that was the right ethical or responsible decision to make if we could avoid it. And so the question Omar posed earlier about how can we possibly do this? How can this be done? That was the crux of so many conversations that I had with faculty and staff in the school. How can we do this? Can we do this? Can we transition a fully staged musical to an online environment? We'd never done that before. No one had ever done that before. And suddenly we decided we could. We got together, the faculty and the staff huddled, and we created our very first ever full musical production of Pippin. And you will see here the incredible work that was accomplished with our students, all on Zoom, all using their own equipment. We did, ironically, as Omar alluded to earlier, we were able to check out equipment for the theater department. Sewing machines are what we needed to do so that our costume students in our CTE program could complete their work. So we actually signed out sewing machines from the Performing Arts Center so that students were able to use them in effort of supporting this production. So as you'll see, the images and the editing work that was done all by our staff. We did not have to hire any external entities to help us with these projects. It was all done with our PAC and theater department staff and faculty. We also were able to pivot to having a virtual electronic music concert led by the incomparable Dr. Bernarda Feldman, chair of the music department. As you'll see, our students for the very first time were also able to incorporate visual art into the electronic music concert entity. And so we found all of a sudden there was an interdisciplinarity that started to form between performing and visual arts that may have not even been considered prior to the pandemic. We also have virtual student art exhibitions. Lisa Mott, our instructional laboratory technician in the Department of Art, who retired just this past December, had the extraordinary idea of what if we were able to, instead of lining the beautiful halls of Mentry with our student work, what if we created special web pages on the art department website in which we could showcase student work. So of course, as Jill alluded to earlier, these are some items that we will maintain as we return from the pandemic. We love being able to celebrate student art visually in this way. And these are just some examples of the work that was accomplished last spring during the height of the pandemic move. We also had a commercial music album and video release. Carly Clark, who is on the call, I know this morning, was a part of that course. And when Bill McPherson, professor in the music department, and I got together to talk about, okay, we can't have a concert, what can we do? And he said, well, Jen, I think we can actually pivot towards doing an album. It's like, okay, well, let's talk to the patrons. And the patrons were excited about the idea of having a physical CD that they could use in their own homes or in their car. And so we were able to create not only the virtual album, but also have a virtual album release party. And you'll see the little Zoom screens that everybody, again, recorded in their own homes with their own equipment, their own microphones, their own laptops. And then we were able to edit and synthesize within the course. And I think what's particularly interesting about this example is that all of a sudden students learned new skills. They were learning about recording. They were learning about sound engineering. And we had students actually self-select into some of those roles as a master technician. And all of a sudden they realized, oh, maybe it's not the performance side that I'm interested in. Maybe I want to be a sound engineer. Maybe I want to be a producer. And so I think one of the important aha moments of this whole experience to remember is that the power of education really is to open our eyes to the worlds of the unknown, right? And the possibility. And that all of a sudden, when you start to imagine, oh, I could be good at this thing, then we start to imagine in ourselves that there's other possibilities maybe than what our limited focus has previously been. So I think that's an interesting example of student achievement in a scenario that we may never have considered pre-pandemic. We also were working on ways to continue to engage our patrons of the arts members and figure out, okay, we can't have physical events in the Performing Arts Center, but what can we do? And so we started having a series of virtual happy hour events where we would spotlight a particular entity from the school, whether it be music or theater or part of the visual arts. And we would invite our patrons to join us, sometimes with a selected cocktail configuration that aligned with the offering of the evening. And these events became a wonderful window into the behind the scenes or the backstage work of how does a virtual album come together? How does the electronic music concert come together? How do students put together the initial work from their drawing classes into the beautiful final products that we see in the virtual online galleries? And so it really helped our patrons to see a window into the work. Because I do think sometimes visual and performing arts especially feel like magic. And when we walk into that performing arts center and the lights go out and the orchestra starts, we all, at least I do, have this exhale of, wow, something exhilarating is about to happen. And yet we don't always know the intricacies and the skill sets that are required to be honed as part of that process. So again, the happy hours became a wonderful experience, and we started having them monthly, and then they moved to every other month as people's schedules became busier throughout the pandemic. But it's a wonderful opportunity to share with our patrons the specific work of what's happening in the school and across the 7 departments. We also this year have been able to include professional virtual exhibitions within our art gallery. So to your left is an artist by the name of Brooke Sauer, and to the right, an artist by the name of Kumasi J. Barnett. So they were professional artists who were able to provide digital works for exhibition in our art gallery pages, and we also were able to have artist talks. And as you'll see, the music department concert, electronic music concert and commercial music concert of last spring expanded significantly this fall. So we took what we learned in the initial weeks and months of the pandemic last spring, and we implemented more content for the fall. And so you'll see Cover Charge, our commercial music ensemble, and our electronic music and multimedia concert. And also Julie Lawson was able to create a beautiful synthesized video of Elton John's Goodbye Yellow Brick Road with her vocal jazz ensemble, which many of you I know are missing those concerts up in the USEN twice a year. And Julie and Lori Marie Rios with our chamber singers have done extraordinary work in pivoting their choral ensembles. As many of you may know, it's not possible to have 2 people singing on a Zoom at once, right? If you've had any kind of birthday celebration and we all try to sing together on Zoom, there's one dominant voice that comes through because of the technical configurations within Zoom. So it's taken a lot of work behind the scenes of our faculty and our staff to be able to figure out, okay, how can we record each individual singer and then edit and merge the voices together in a blended way? So our theater department this past fall, I mentioned the musical last spring of Pippin. This fall, we were brave enough to have 2 complete virtual productions. So Wojciech, based on the German playwright of the 1930s, we had a film noir set, as you can see in the black and white photographs, directed and led by David Steers. And that production took place online on our websites. It was all pre-recorded, and you'll see the graphic that almost looks like the old days of camera photography. Those are each of the scenes. And the way that Wojciech constructed his piece, unfortunately, he passed away during his writing of the piece. And so the script was never finished. And so it ends up being a scene by scene entity for the audience. You can actually choose your own adventure as you move through the work and create your own user experience. So again, a new innovative way of looking at theater in this landscape. And then to the right, directed by Susan Hinshaw, full-time faculty in our theater department, we created a devised, which means that it's written and constructed entirely by the students, piece called Virtuality, the 2020 Tournament. So as you'll notice on your Zoom window, and I do hope that you'll take a quick look at this particular design and staging, those are Zoom windows. Those are Zoom windows that our students, not our brilliant design staff, but our students were able to create. Now, granted, these students are often in our technical theater classes. They're part of stagecraft, they're part of design. They've taken courses in art, so they do have a sense of the visual and now the 2D space. Of course, they're used to working in a 3D space in the Performing Arts Center. But if you'll notice, the intricacy and the detail created in making sure that all those Zoom windows perfectly align. And Christopher Boltz, our chair of the theater department, was able to help our students and Professor Hinshaw put this work together. And it was submitted as part of the Kennedy Center Annual College Theater Festival, Region 8 exhibition this year and festival, and they were actually selected. They had a special commendation to come and have the production fully present at the Kennedy Center. It's not something that we entered. It's not something that we asked for consideration for. It was a special selected entity because the adjudicators from the Kennedy Center were so impressed by the caliber of the work that we did here at College of the Canyon. So that's a special shout out. And we did have many students become finalists and win awards as part of that festival. So pretty incredible work. And as part of the incredible work that was happening, we've instituted a VAPA, a School of Visual and Performing Arts Showcase. We piloted this program last spring, and we've continued it through the fall, and we'll continue through the spring. Of course, it's all virtual right now, but we do have plans when we return to campus to have that be an entity that can be between our art gallery and our Performing Arts Center so that it's open to the public to see the extraordinary work in our 7 departments. If you just take a moment and look at this slide, there is a lot there in terms of the work that has continued and has been able to evolve throughout the last year. And in addition, this fall was something called the Industry Insight Series. So it's something that I was thinking about creating and working with the faculty in terms of brainstorming how to do this shortly after I arrived in Santa Clarita in July of 2019. Because again, being in Los Angeles County, up in Santa Clarita, where we have such extraordinary industry professionals literally living in our backyards, that it's crucial that we connect our students to the world of professional practice. And so I was hoping to have events such as these in our beautiful Performing Arts Center, but we were able to transition and have working professional artists come in for specialized seminars. You'll see Pete Souza, of course, the White House photographer for Presidents Reagan and President Obama, New York Times bestselling author and award-winning photojournalist. He was with us in February. We had Broadway maestra, Broadway maestra, Georgia Stitt, who is a composer, conductor, lyricist, producer, arranger from the New York world, who's also taught at USC. Out here, her husband is Jason Robert Brown. For those of you who know him, he's a Tony Award-winning musical theater composer. We had Georgia just a few weeks ago, and we have an exciting lineup of future professional artists coming in. Eric Whitaker was with us in the fall. He's the founder creator of the virtual choir movement here in the US and a really esteemed composer of his own right. But the Industry Insight series gives our students a window into the work and the journey and the pathway of professional artists. And just as an example from Pete Souza, he talked about how in high school, he had no idea what he wanted to do with his life. And in fact, he considered himself the least likely to succeed. And I think for our students, it's very important for them to hear that it's not always the folks who at 13 knew exactly what they wanted to do, but there's room and there are pathways for everyone to find what they love, find their passion, and College of the Canyons is a perfect place to explore and discover what parts of yourself you most want to develop as you find employment in the future. So what have we learned? We've learned a lot, right? We've learned to expect to struggle and to explore new technologies and to move toward the unknown and to search for inspiration. And believe me, it's been hard. There have been days, myself included, where we burst into tears, right? I'm on a call with a faculty member and it just seems like too much. I remember on Friday the 13th a year ago, I burst into tears in my own car in lot 2 of the college because I felt the enormity of how challenging this was going to be for everyone, but we stayed in it. We stayed with it. We helped each other. We've continued to support. And again, because of our extraordinary leadership led by Dr. Van Hook, so much has been possible. And sometimes the answer is to not try to do the thing we've always done, but it's to make the new thing, right? What is the new entity that we can create within this new landscape, and to be very mindful of the realities of what we have around us and to work within them. So as we look forward, certainly we will continue to create, we will continue to design, and we will be bold because we must try things. Without trying, we'll never know if they work or not. If we had hedged our bets last year and thought, oh, this is all too hard and canceled everything, we wouldn't know the extraordinary things that you're about to see come up in this final slide. As we know that there is hope, the lights are coming back on at that beautiful Performing Arts Center. And in the meantime, we've been able to really celebrate our students and their successes and help them complete as they move upon their journey here at COC. So again, it's my absolute pleasure to be with you this morning, and thanks for giving me the time to brag about a lot of the work that we're doing here in VAPA.
Thank you so much, Jen. That was so inspiring, and we are so fortunate to have you at our college. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
So moving on, our next speaker is Cindy Schwanke. She has been in the food service hospitality industry for over 30 years, having started out in a retail bakery and then moving to restaurants, catering, and hotels. Cindy has her degree in food service and hospitality. She has a specialized certificate in baking and pastry, which is where she spends 95% of her time, in the sweet kitchen. Cindy started teaching in 2008 when the culinary program was just getting started at COC. She taught one baking class with 10 students. Over the years, Cindy and the culinary team have been in several different locations trying to accommodate the growing program. That's a great story, by the way, in itself, of all the places that you've been to grow the program. In 2014, the college raised money to build a beautiful state-of-the-art Culinary Arts Center, now called iCUE, Institute for Culinary Education. The program has 3 certificate programs and offers an associate degree in culinary arts. Cindy Schwanke is the department chair for the Culinary Arts and Wine Studies program. The Culinary Institute now has over 250 students, and many are following their passion in working the hospitality industry. Cindy has 2 beautiful daughters and lives in Valencia. Welcome, Cindy.
Thank you so much, Jill. And thank you everybody for having me here today, the foundation. And Omar and Jen, you did a fabulous job. And on the instructor side, I just want to say I appreciate that you guys know the hard work that we've all put in down here in the trenches. And so thank you so much. It's been a whirlwind year, that is for sure. Listen, I make muffins. I don't know about how to do computers, and I was thrown for a loop March 13th when we all had to go to remote. And not only myself, but all the instructors here at the Culinary Institute. So Omar, like you had said, you know, it takes teamwork. And I alone could not have made this program happen online without my fellow instructors. We all got together. We all took the online training that the college offered because we had no idea. So great resources that the college provided for the instructors to learn how to navigate online instruction for a culinary class. So we all put our heads together. We all figured out Canvas, which some of us weren't even on Canvas, right? So we all figured it out, and we figured it out together, which was really, really helpful. We all figured it out together, and then we each took our students and helped them figure it out. So, right, it was a lot of teamwork, a lot of moving parts. The students were thrown as well. What do we do, right? How are we going to do this? So, you know, a lot of patience that first week, a lot of patience the first week when our semester starts, because it's hard for the students to navigate. Like you said, Omar, they didn't know what online live was, what synchronous was, what asynchronous was. And so they came to their instructors, right? And so it was very important for us to take that first week, because we're on an 8-week, we're accelerated, and really work with the students to make sure they understood how to submit on Canvas, how to navigate, you know, this Zoom thing going on, right? What happens if their internet breaks down? What do they do? So we had to navigate them as well and help them move forward. So some of the things that we did here at the Culinary Institute, and I have my little kit here and I'm gonna share with you. In my office, we gave them knives. We have a knife kit here for them. They took it home. We gave them a whisk. We gave them a cutting board. We gave them some pans, pots, a sheet pan, a scale. So this, I just wanted you guys to visualize, this was their toolkit. And they took this home the first week, right? They came, they did the circle, and we dropped it off in their car, whether it be a knife skills class, whether it be a bake class. We have them all specialized for whatever class they were going to be in, right? So they were very grateful for this, because some of them didn't even have a knife at home, didn't have measuring cups at home. So like you said, Jen and Omar, we had to adapt and give them what they needed for to be successful at home, right? Especially, you know, that first couple months. So we did that. The instructors all knew that we had to slow down a little bit in our instruction. Our syllabi changed. It did change, right? Because we can't do 4 recipes and they're at home trying to navigate their kitchen. Maybe their oven doesn't work, their stove doesn't work. So it's a lot of flexibility on our part. And I think the team here at iCUE did a fabulous job being flexible and helping students move forward. And so now we're lucky because we have our advanced classes. We're able to come back online, come back in the kitchens. We did meet with consultants, and we do have markers on the floor where you can stand 6 feet apart. We have plenty of PPE here. We have plenty of gloves. We have plenty of masks. We have plenty of shields. We have plenty of sanitizer. We have a janitor coming in once a day to wipe down all the doors and the nozzles and, you know, make sure that we're doing our due diligence here. The students have been great. They go get their temp checked every day before they come into the building. We have an indoor and an out exit. We're not allowed to use the whole building, but we do utilize the kitchens very well. Omar was gracious enough. Our cap size for our classes are much smaller now. So, you know, we're serving a smaller amount of students. However, they are so excited to be back on campus. I think that it has saved them from a lot of mental anguish, to be quite honest with you. We hear from students all the time. Oh my gosh, thank you for being here. We're so happy to see at least, you know, some of our peers working here in the kitchen with us. So it's been really great. Some of our classes, the beginning classes, are still online. We have to navigate that. So we're on Zoom for 5-6 hours with the students, cooking with them, right? So yesterday I made a fruit tart with my bake class, right? We're online and we're doing it together. And so they really loved it. And just the excitement and the enthusiasm that they've made it over the internet and we're able to navigate. For them, it's an accomplishment. And for me, it's an accomplishment too, to be quite honest with you. So I do have a few pictures I want to share with you. And I took some pictures just of some of the students and I want to, can everybody see that? Yeah. So there's Zach. That is Zach. Now, once a week, they come by and they pick up their ingredients for the week. And so, you know, we have that little roundabout in the back of iCUE. That is Zach picking up his ingredients. And I may need to, let me see if I can see all the pictures. Let me go back. Shoot. Let me see if I can, give me 1 sec there. Here we go. Can everybody see that? That is our PPE station where when they first come into the building, right? We have the gloves, we have the masks, we have signs everywhere. Now, let me tell you, we've had no problem with students not wearing a mask, not getting a temp check. All the students are so happy to be here.
Cindy, I think we're still seeing your other screen.
Okay, thanks. I wonder why. Here we go. Okay. Oh, shoot. Maybe I should just do the, here we go. Can everybody see that one?
Maybe
No?
double click on it. Maybe double click on it and it'll open, I think.
Okay. Still you can't see?
Yeah, we can't see the image. We just
No.
see the screen with all the images.
Why don't you
Oh,
stop
fine.
share and reshare?
Click on
Okay, let me try that. Sorry. I have a little, see, I'm still not good at this. Geez.
Okay.
It says I'm screen. Can you see it now?
No.
You have to click
No.
on view. Go up to the top to the toolbar and click on view.
So view the fourth one over.
Right.
To the right.
Down.
Down a little bit.
Oh, up.
See, it says
Over.
file, home, share, view.
Yeah.
Go to view. There
and
you
then
go.
Put extra large icons
Extra large icons.
right underneath view. There you go.
Right there. There you go.
Okay.
Now we can see
Okay,
it.
there we go.
what you want.
So yeah, let me just, perfect, thank you. So there's the iCUE Cafe right here. Can everybody see that one? See how empty it is now? It used to be full and bustling and now it's 6 feet apart. Here we have our drive-up lunches. And so what we've done with our cafe class that because we can't have patrons now or guests in the iCUE Cafe for lunch. Now that was a capstone class. So what those students do is they make the menu, they serve, right? Like you're in a real world. Well, now what we've done, we've partnered with Bank on campus and we are preparing lunch for 50 students every week. And it's a drive-through lunch. So we pack up everything to go, the advanced class, and we drive through and there is Guillermo serving lunches to the students and they drop them in their car. So that's kind of how we've adapted, right? That's what restaurants are doing. Everything was to go, right? So although now we can do 25%, but we had to adapt and give those students their experience. Here's Chef Christine hanging out over here, giving out, driving up. She checks off who comes, picks up their ingredients. And then this is all the packaging that we have to do. I wish I could make it bigger. But right here in the middle, all those to-go containers, all those ingredients, all go in bags, right? There's some frying oil so they can do their fry lesson that we have to give them to go. It's a lot of work. Here's the to-go boxes, the bags that they pick up every week. Just to share with you, you know, we have like 100 students now in the program who are doing these pickups, okay? It's a lot. And it's very expensive, these to-go containers, by the way. So grateful that the college was able to let us do this kind of stuff. Okay, here's another one. So these are just some pictures of what we've been doing here at iCUE. Again, lots of to-goes. The pickup has been great. And so we're just managing as best we can. I think moving forward, we're going to be able to have more classes here in the kitchens with social distancing, which is going to be great, and allow our students to advance and get their degree and get their culinary certificate in a timely manner, right? And that's the key. They don't have to want to wait, you know, stop their education and move forward. So I think it's great. I think our instructors are happy to be on campus as well, even though it's, you know, it is a little bit of a risk to see some students and see everybody. I think we've all, for the greater good of the students, are making things work. So I look forward to, it seems like everything's opening up a little bit more, and the students have certainly learned a lot through this online and how to navigate their Canvas shells, how to navigate a portfolio online, how to do Zoom with an employer. There's so many positives too. And so we look at the positives and we try to figure out how are we going to make things work. And that's the beauty of College of the Canyons, that they allow us to be creative and come up with some great solutions. So thank you to Omar and Jennifer. You're doing a great job as well. And I appreciate you and all that you've done. And thank you everybody for your support, especially the foundation in the culinary program. We appreciate you so much. So, and thank you to everybody who sat at our table before, Doreen and Ed, both Eds. I've seen you here at the table and I hope to see you again soon.
Thank you so
for
much.
having me.
Thank you, Chef Cindy. Thank you
You're
so
welcome.
much. I mean, we could go on for hours because this is so inspiring and exciting. We're going to run a little bit late, and I'm just going to ask one question because a lot of our questions have already been answered in the chat, which I think is really great because they can just get more knowledge. But I'm going to ask you all one question, and the same question for all of you. And I'm going to go in order of this one question and start with Omar. Can I ask what brought you to COC?
Oh, well, that's a great question. So, and I'm going to answer it truthfully.
Please.
So at the time, as you mentioned, Jill, I was serving as the faculty member in the chemistry department at Moorpark College. I was the department chair. And when you get to serve as a department chair in a California community college system, you really get a good balance between the faculty work, but also some administrative work. I had the privilege of working, as you mentioned, on the Senate, on curriculum. I was also involved with our accreditation. We were reformulating our strategic plan and our educational and facility master plan. So a lot of the more administrative part of it, and I realized that I had an interest and a passion in serving in this role in support of our students and faculty and staff. And so when I was looking, it just happened to run into College of the Canyons. And at the time, my vice president at the college knew of Diane, Dr. Van Hook. And what he said to me was, she is a force of nature. And with your personality, you would fit really well in that type of dynamic, innovative, forward-thinking, entrepreneurial college. Because he knew me pretty well at the time, given my skill set. And he said, you should apply for the position. I had never applied for a dean position. I didn't think that I was going to get it. But that just tells you Dr. Van Hook is willing. We did the same thing with Jen. People that have not necessarily been administrators before, but you give them a chance because you see the incredible potential that they hold. So my answer is Dr. Van Hook was the reason I applied to College of the Canyons, and knowing the amazing work that she has done in concert with all of you in support of the Santa Clarita Valley community. That was a huge driving force for me wanting to pick up and leave a tenured job, which, by the way, my parents thought I was crazy because unless I molested a student or went crazy, I was not going to lose my job. And they couldn't believe that all of a sudden I wanted to become an administrator. But again, there was that driving force behind the scenes. So there's my answer.
Well, we're very fortunate to have you, Omar. So thank you. You're awesome. And Jen.
So again, like Omar, I will answer completely honestly as well. And it's not a completely dissimilar story. I remember vividly the year before I saw this job advertisement in higher ed jobs, being quite unhappy and feeling very stuck in my work life, that the things I had been able to achieve and pilot new programs and launch were at a max, and it became in an ever evolving way that was as high as I was going to be able to move within those areas. And that's sort of where the end of the road presented itself. And so I thought, but I want more. There's more to contribute. There's more to do. I need a place that matches me in this way. And so I started looking, I thought, at potential opportunities. And again, looking at associate dean, assistant dean, some dean positions, but because I had not been a dean previously, I came from faculty, I had been a chair, I developed new programs and with some administrative work, but really more on the faculty and teaching side, predominantly, that I thought, okay, let me put my hat in the ring for a couple of jobs. And COC was one of them. And I was highly selective about what those positions are. Again, coming from the acting and the theater and music world, you don't audition for a project that you're not really interested in, right? You don't waste people's time. You don't get in front of the casting directors. You just don't do that. It's standard industry practice. So similarly, as I was thinking about a move career-wise, I wasn't going to put my CV and resume or cover letter in for a position that I wasn't really interested in. And of course, I had not heard of College of the Canyons, again, being all the way back on the East Coast, but what I would say is that I was continually intrigued as I continued to click and read about the school in the periodicals out here, and to see Dr. Van Hook speak about the place. And there was something in the way that she spoke about her work and about the college that I thought, I gotta go for this. I'm not gonna get it. There's no chance, but let me try. I'll practice my audition skills. And lo and behold, 3 months later, I was packing up my life and moving across the country. And I had friends in New York certainly saying to me, what are you doing? Where are you going? You're leaving New York. You have great jobs here. But I wasn't fulfilled in the ways that I have now been fulfilled. And despite the challenges of the past year, it has continued to be the very best decision I've ever made. And I'm so thankful to the school for bringing me here on this incredible journey. So that's why I'm here.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Well, we're so happy to have you too. And Cindy.
Wow. Well, I'm going to be completely honest then too, if we're all just sharing it. So I've been in industry for 30 years, and I lived in Santa Clarita for 30 years, right? When my child was first born, and I worked in Huntington Beach. I worked in Beverly Hills. I worked in Culver City. And so I was on the freeway 4 hours, usually a day, right? I'm a pastry chef, so I have to leave at 4 a.m, 5 a.m. And so one day it took me 6 hours to get home from the brand new Hyatt Hotel in Huntington that I was the pastry chef at. And I thought, this is just ridiculous, right? I worked all holidays, Saturdays and Sundays, and it's very difficult having a family in the hospitality industry. It really is. And so the college just started their culinary program. They had 2 classes. And I knew the chef that started the 2 classes, and he's like, hey, why don't you come teach a bake class? I'm like, okay. And we were back in the cafeteria then, sharing space with the cafeteria. That's a whole other program I could talk about, but I won't. Good learning memories there. So I did a bake class 1 day a week, and it just grew. And then, we started with 10 students. We got 20, we got 30. And then the full-time faculty at that time, the culinary instructor, left all of a sudden. And then this opportunity presented itself. And, I applied for the full-time position, and I got the full-time position. So, it's hard leaving industry because, I love working in the kitchen and I love doing pastry. But, I decided I loved instructing. I loved paying forward what I had learned in my 30 years. And the students here were just fabulous. And I'm going to tag on with Omar. It was Diane Van Hook. She believed in the program and she believed in me, and I gave her my vision. And listen, I am sitting in the vision right now, 10 years later, or 14 years later. So that's the reason I'm here as well.
Well, thank you, all of three of you, for sharing that with us. We are actually going to share this video with the community, and we're going to share it with our foundation and all of our Chancellor Circle members who could not be here. We're going to share it with them too, because I know they're going to be so inspired at the programs here at the college, and more we can share, the better off we are. And I'm very thankful that you took the time to put your presentations together and that you shared it with us. The more we can learn, the more we can help drive donations into the college and help everyone. So, and really it's all about the students. So if anyone would like more information about the Chancellor Circle, give me a call, send me an email, reach out to Kathy Ritz, Michelle Ray. Thank you very much to Carly Clark for helping us with our presentation today. And I just want to tell everyone, have a really great weekend. It looks like things are looking up, but really they've always looked up at the college. So that's what I love about it, is it's positive. It's always how we can do it better. Look at the positive ways and not the negative. And I'm that way too. So I love your thinking. And I really appreciate Dr. Van Hook instilling that in you as well. So thank you very much again.
Thank you, everyone.
Have a wonderful time.
Thank you,
Bye.
everybody. Have a great weekend.
Bye.
Thank you.